Is it cold on a narrowboat, I hear you ask? Well, it's a question we get asked all the time, and we get lots of comments on Facebook and YouTube saying, I'd love to live on a narrowboat, but I bet it's cold in winter. The answer to that question is, yes, it'd be freezing cold on a narrowboat if you didn't have something like a log burner and plenty of insulation. So how have we made sure that Leander Lady is going to keep us nice and warm and toasty in the middle of winter? First off, we've got our log burner. It's a Morso Squirrel log burner. It's rated at about 5 kilowatts and it's what's known as a multi-fuel stove. That means we can burn either logs or we can burn smokeless coal in there. What we tend to do is burn logs during the day when we're on hand to tend to them, because the logs tend to burn a little bit quicker, so you need to feed the fire more often. But then during the evening, when we want to go to bed, or likewise when we're out at work during the day, we put some smokeless coal in there, and that keeps it going for long periods with just that little bit of background heat. There's a few reasons why we chose to have the log burner as opposed to something like a diesel heater or a gas-fired central heating system. For one, there's the look of it. Not only do we love the look of our fireplace, and quite often in a boat that does become a focal point. People really tend to go to town on their fireplaces and make them look really nice. There's also the aspect of when you're looking at this glowing fire, it makes you feel warm straight away, no matter what the temperature is around you. And let's be honest, as a tight Yorkshireman, the main reason we went for this option is because it tends to be cheap to run. A lot of the logs and timber that we burn, we actually get for free. And therefore, the cost of the smokeless coal that we burn on there is quite minimal, and it keeps our costs right down, which makes me happy. The gas-fired central heating systems can be pretty expensive to run. You hear of people using a full 47 kilogram bottle of gas per week. And bearing in mind, I think at the moment those are running at sort of 40 or 50 pounds a bottle. That soon adds up over a cold winter. And likewise, with the diesel heaters, obviously you've got the cost of the diesel, and you also need to bear in mind that they run off electric pumps, albeit maybe a 12 volt pump, but you've also got to supply the electric to run the pump, as well as the diesel to form the heating. And clearly, because we are basically off grid, we've no way of running any electric heaters or anything that's 240 volt powered as the actual heat source. Therefore, we chose the log burner. You will see on the top there's a little fan. That fan is powered by the actual heat that's generated from the log burner. The heat that transfers through the plate on the top of the log burner into the fan creates enough of an electric charge to actually turn that fan. And don't get me wrong, I'm not sat here getting blown away by the power coming from it, but it does just do enough just to move the air around, just to circulate that heat throughout the boat. And as well as providing the heat, we also cook on there. You can't beat a nice stew or a chilli on a cold winter's evening. And we can also make our favourite, a brew, with the kettle that's sat on top of the log burner, giving us hot water whenever we need it. And obviously the log burner is therefore the main source of heat. But without looking at a few other aspects around the boat, a lot of that heat would be wasted. The main thing is the insulation, that, as I'm sure you remember, as we built this boat up in the first place, behind all the panelling there's insulation. Mainly the Kingspan type insulation that's a foam covered in a foil backing, and that helps keep the heat in and the cold out. The one big thing that we've not got insulated at the minute is our ceiling, because I'm sure you're aware, if you're following our project, we've not had a chance to actually get the ceiling fitted as yet. But because that's obviously a big source of where we're going to be losing heat at the moment, we have come up with a bit of a temporary solution while we get round to fitting this new ceiling, which we'll come to in a little while, and I'll show you what we're doing there. I would say a lot of people nowadays are choosing to have their boat spray foamed, and that tends to be the best form of insulation, because obviously it gets into every little nook and cranny and makes sure that you've got a good insulation all the way around your boat. The reason we didn't go for that option is because as we were building the boat up in sections, we were able to insulate it as we went. Whereas for the spray foam, you basically need a fully framed out boat, and the man comes along with his big machine and spray foams the whole lot at once. it's very tricky to get him to come maybe 3, 4, 5 times to do each individual section. Therefore, we went for the Kingspan. And overall, so long as we've done it right, which I'm pretty sure we have, that should give us the same kind of insulation values as the spray foam would anyway. As with any boat or house, one other little thing you have to do is look round for any little sort of areas that are allowing any cold air to come in. And one of those key areas for us at the moment is our doorway. That's only temporary doors that we put on, along with a temporary hatch. We did that a couple of months ago, and as yet we've still not got round to actually fitting proper ones. So although those fit and they operate perfectly as doors and a hatch, they're not perfectly sealed. So Dawn quickly knocked up a little pair of curtains that for now we've just got on a bit of string that we hook on there as and when we need them, when those temperatures drop and we're not going in and out of the door. Clearly when we do actually build those proper doors, they will have some insulation built into those and the hatch, although we probably still will use a curtain or something like that in front of them, because you can never be too careful. It's all them little gaps that are what let the air in. As you're probably aware, our boat was built in 1977 and it's still got its original windows. So they're all single glazed windows, which, as I'm sure most people are aware, aren't very good for creating a thermal barrier and keeping the warmth in and the cold out. We do like these windows though, because they are nice and big and they let a lot of light in, and it also makes the room feel so much bigger. What we've come up with is a little solution to keeping some of the hot air in though, especially at night when we would normally have the curtains closed. It's an idea that I've kind of stolen from motorhomes, if you like, by putting a silver foil up against the windows. I've been making a few of those up, but I've still got some more to do. So I'll show you how we do that in a minute. It's now time to carry on insulating this ceiling though, because for one, sat right next to this fire, I'm melting. So I'm going to finish my drink, get some of this foil insulation out, and let's get cracking with a bit of work. As a temporary solution for the ceiling, I'm just using this foil insulation sheet. It's obviously not as good as that Kingspan stuff that's sort of 25 to 50 mil thick, which has also got the foil on it. Clearly that does a better job. But as this is only temporary, anything is better than nothing. And it is quite surprising just how much heat does get radiated back off these shiny surfaces. So all I'm doing then is just measuring the gap between the joists. If we look at this one up here, we've got just a bit over 30 centimetres, a bit over a foot. So if we cut that off, there's a nice piece there. Cuts dead simple with the scissors. One advantage being cutting this in half as noisy as cutting that insulation. And all I need is a few bits of this tape, the foil tape, just to hold it up there in the first place, and then we can go along and seal all the joints. Just need to move this light out the way first. And let's just measure up and cut out for this vent. We do need to keep that vent clear because basically the boat still has to breathe, although we do want to keep it nice and warm. So with the ceiling done, I can now look at these windows. And like I said, I've robbed an idea that I've seen used in motorhomes and caravans and camper vans and things in the past. And that's that they use like a foil blanket that's made to measure, that fits around all the windows. And at night and when it's cold, they just hang those up like you would a pair of curtains, and that again reflects the heat in and helps to keep the cold out. So what I've done is I've got some of this foil blanket, and in this case I folded it in half and then taped around the edges, and these are made to the right measurements to just slot into the window frames. And because they don't really weigh anything, they don't need anything to hold them in place either, they just sort of stay there of their own accord. So I've made some for these centre sections, and I just need to cut some that'll go in these side pieces here. So a quick measure up. The piece that we need is 22.5 centimetres wide by, unfortunately it's just a bit longer than my ruler. So if we do it the length of the ruler and that little bit more, and then we'll want it 50 centimetres, no sorry, 45 centimetres wide, and then again we can fold it in half. So we one made for each side. Let's see how they fit. I would say that's pretty good. That's going to keep a lot of heat in and a lot of cold out. A little trick that can be used on more or less any windows, whether it be in a boat or in a motorhome, in a house or whatever. I suppose now though, I'd better finish off doing them for all the other windows. So when you take into account the insulation we used as we fitted the boat out, and then with additions like this foil lining on the windows, and not to mention that log burner, I think it's pretty safe to say, no, it's not cold on a narrowboat. Thanks for watching, folks. See you all later. Bye bye.